Hey everyone, my name is Carrie Abernathy and I'm really excited to be here with you at the Event Fortitude Summit and super excited to be presenting Shift Happens to you today. So we'll kick off with a little bit about who I am. Again, my name is Carrie Abernathy and I am an event planner for the most part, a 15-year events industry veteran. I am one of the co-founders of the Association for Women in Events in the industry and the Events Industry Sexual Harassment Task Force that has just now been taken over by EIC. I'm a speaker, a blogger, a leadership blogger, a coach. So I wear a lot of hats. I also bring you the weekly talk show with my co-host Derek Johnson, Events from Black to White, where we tackle all things equality and engagement and everything in between in the events industry. So that being said, I'm going to jump right into topics for this presentation. Today we'll talk about the fundamentals. So really that freaking P word that we all hate so much, and what went wrong for a lot of us. And what happens next, what we've all been through, and what can happen next, how we can move forward in the face of everything that's going on here. So let's start with the shift, the P word, the pivot. And I say drink. I like to make it a drinking game. So P, pivot, drink, have a drink. I think it's 4:00 Eastern, right? So I think we're good to have a cocktail right now. And I think we all deserve one. So when the shift happened, where were you? I think we'll all remember in the future where we were when we heard the news, when we heard the C word, coronavirus and COVID and all of that. I won't say good stuff, but you know what I mean. So I was actually at an event, a live event, my last live event for the Association for Women in Events, which I was executive director for. And it was March 7th. I'll never forget it. We had one person cancel because of COVID. And we were all gung-ho that the event must go on and that live events would go on and that this wouldn't be a big deal. So I think there was a lot of denial. And if you were where I was at that time, there was a lot of denial. There was a lot of stop and pause and think that this would be over in the next few weeks. But unfortunately it wasn't. So I think at some point we all had our OF moment. And you know what I mean, because a lot of us are unemployed right now. And maybe that moment was realizing 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 weeks in that COVID was here. It's here to stay. Maybe your OF moment was canceling your big show. Maybe it was shifting somehow to a virtual conference within a matter of weeks, or trying to learn tech when you never learned tech before. We all had that OF moment, and mine definitely was a rough one. It came some weeks after the Elevate conference for the Association for Women in Events, when we realized that this was not a passing phase and that funding would go away, and that we as a 501c3 membership organization couldn't keep charging members and meeting planners when so many people had lost their jobs or were struggling, and it just wasn't right. We just wanted to share our community. So my OF moment came when I had to approach the board at the end of April and say, look, executive committee and board of AWE, we're in a position where we're losing funding and we can't possibly charge members in the future. So how do we move forward, or do we move forward? And we had to make some hard decisions. And the hard decision at that time in our pivot was sunsetting the organization formerly known as AWE and completely ending the 501c3 and all of the money and structure behind the organization and shifting it to an open Facebook community that was free for everyone, so that we could share resources, we could share job posts and career posting and elevate one another during this difficult time. So that was the start of shift happening for me. And it didn't end there. And I have some great lessons that I'd like to share with you. But first, take a moment. Once something major happens to you, once the shift happens, once you have your OF moment, take a moment to be human. Feel sorry for yourself. Feel sorry for the industry. Take your time to mourn. Take a time to pause and think about what your career has looked like for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years, and that it may never look the same. And then most importantly, I call myself a woman of action. So I believe in shifting, and I believe in action, and I believe in finding a way to move forward. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about here. And for me, that started with trying to figure out what I actually love. And I think that is, a funny question, because I think a lot of us feel like we know what we love. And a lot of our love has to do with the fact that we are super organized or super into live event management or very much into the pressure and action of live events. And that's what I thought I loved because I lived it. I, like you, was working 12, 14 plus hour days doing the job that I absolutely loved as an event manager, and with volunteering with the Association for Women in Events and building that community out and acting as their executive director and leader. So that's what I did love, but I had to find out what else I actually loved. And going along with that, taking that step back and asking yourself, what am I good at? And we know we're good at event planning. We know we're good at event management. We know we're good at organization. We know we're good at networking. We're good at reaching people. But what am I really good at outside of that? And lastly, but most importantly, probably, who am I? And we'll talk about that in just a second. So we'll start from the beginning, where I started right after the pivot, right after I sunsetted an organization that I gave my heart and soul to for 5 years. I was just wondering what would happen. And I had to really think, who am I? Who is Carrie Abernathy, if not an event manager, and if not in the events industry, and if not a leader and executive director of this organization, bringing together people day after day for a good cause? And I had a moment and I had a pause where I wondered, am I only a meeting planner? Is that all I can do? Deep breath here, because there may be a future of live events, and I hope to goodness that there is, because I love live event management more than anything. But I have to play devil's advocate, and I had to take that moment with myself where I said, if for some reason live events never came back, or came back in a completely different way where I wasn't employed anymore, am I only a meeting planner? Do I have other skills? What do I love? What else can I do? And so, thank goodness, I reached out to a few friends, and we'll talk about our networks in a minute. But I had a friend come visit me quite a few weeks into COVID. Don't worry, we totally socially distant with each other. But I had her come over and spend the weekend, and we did a total deep dive. And I think I just needed to feel like I needed a few drinks with a friend, but it turned into something else. And this person was a coach and a mentor and a keynote speaker, actually. And she asked me, what do I love? And when was the last time I was really happy? And I couldn't answer her. And she didn't want to hear that I really love event management. She didn't want to hear that I really love my job. So thank goodness, she put that idea in my head. And then when she left, I received this in the mail. She gifted me the Desire Map, which is this incredible guidebook from Daniel Lepore. And I highly recommend that you purchase it for you and maybe a friend in your life. I get absolutely nothing out of it. I just really, really love it, and I really believe in it. And yeah, it's a little bit woo-woo, but it does help you kind of take a step back away from just creating work goals and professional goals to look at what we really love and what feelings we want to feel when we wake up in the morning, and what feelings we want when we go to work, and what feelings we want when we interact with our friends and our networks and our coworkers and our colleagues. And at the end of the day, just having real clarity around what we really want. And if you're like me, you're a go-getter, you're a type A personality, you're always taking care of other people. That's what we do as event planners. And it had been a long time, if ever, I had actually stopped and considered what I really loved, what I wanted to do, what my feelings were, and what I wanted to achieve personally and what I wanted to feel personally. And I think that's really important in guiding us during this time. And I think what was really enlightening to me was that, I was able to stop feeling sorry for myself and shift to a place where I was able to think, my goodness, I have all of this extra time. I'm not doing this one thing that consumed me. What can I do? There's so much that I can do outside of feeling sorry for myself. There's so much more I can do outside of the bitch fest sessions that I was having with girlfriends and colleagues and so many others in the industry. So I was able to shift, and I was able to become unparalyzed. I definitely had a moment after leaving and sunsetting the Association for Women in Events where I was like, who am I? How could I do anything else? Do I just pause? If you were like me, you definitely had that mourning period. But I really felt after working on, what I wanted and thinking about what I loved and what I was good at and those translatable skills that I could give to other things, to other people, to other industries, then I was able to become unparalyzed. So just a few tips on how you can start becoming unparalyzed. And one, start talking to successful people in your network and out of your network. So for me, it was reaching out to that friend, colleague that was that keynote speaker, mentor, coach. Thank goodness I had her in my toolbox in my back pocket. But asking her, to have a frank conversation, asking her to kind of whip me into shape. But also I reached out to other mentors and coaches inside the events industry and outside the events industry. And honestly, the ones that have become most important are the ones that have been outside of the events industry. And thank goodness I chatted with them because they gave me some real clarity on what they thought I was good at after a few conversations and how I could become unparalyzed. And another option and way to become unstuck is just research, signing up for stuff, and using that valuable time that you might have. And I know a lot of us are spending a lot of time with family. You may be overwhelmed teaching your kids from home and taking care of others that are out of work if you do still have a job. But hopefully you're able to make some time for yourself. I think that's really important. So take that time to research, see what's out there. I really love Coursera. And I actually spent 16 weeks taking the Yale certificate course on the science behind well-being and really kind of digging into what happiness looks like. So, take time to research, take those free courses, look at your community college. They give away a lot of free content and free courses that you can take online or in person if you're brave enough at this point. But make sure that you do some research, find what's important to you. If you've wanted to learn how to ride a bike, research that, figure that out. If you've wanted to do something for a long time, start your blog, for example. Research how to do that. You may never have this time again. And also sign up. So for me, it was signing up to still be a part of the events industry. I just signed up to create content for the Age of Conversation Summit happening on September 9th. And I'm the content manager pulling together all of the speakers and content. And it has been so refreshing and so wonderful to utilize my skill set, but also to meet so many other people that are in positions similar to mine that are looking for those translatable skills. And I'm building my network like crazy just from volunteering for this 5-week project. So make sure you sign up. It doesn't have to be in the events industry. It can be at your kid's school. It could be, there are just so many different things. But if you felt like you had a passion that was burning in the background that you've been pushing back, this is your time to make sure that you spend some time researching and figuring out how to do it. Write that business plan, make that passions board or future board that you've been putting off for a long time. It's a really exciting time if you let it be. And I like this one. Maybe do something that scares you. So we'll talk in a minute about, again, kind of my pivot and where I ended up. But something that scared me for a long time was speaking and storytelling and sharing my story. And even though I was executive director of this organization, I always elevated other people's stories and just felt like mine wasn't one to tell and wasn't exciting. But maybe dig deep and do something that scares you. Sign up for that improv class. Sign up to speak virtually, which is, I call it speaking light, because you're not speaking live. You're maybe pre-recording a session, but you're still putting in that work. You're still getting in front of the camera. You're still doing something that scares you. Maybe buy that URL that you've been looking at for a long time. I just bought CarrieAbernathy.com. I just started a blog right when everything my world came crashing down around me. AWomanWithDrive.com, which I've turned into this huge part of my life that I never would have otherwise. So lean in to the pivot, lean into the P word, drink. And of course, think about what skills translate to other industries, of course. If you are concerned about losing your job, if you have lost your job, if you have lost out on all of the volunteer opportunities, if you are feeling lonely and strange during this time, absolutely okay. But now it's time to think about what skills translate to other industries. And I'll go with low-hanging fruit here. All of us in the events industry that are meeting planners, we're all project managers at the end of the day. We're all logistics managers at the end of the day. There are so many cross-industry positions that are absolutely that. Yeah, maybe they're not producing live events, but there are project managers, and you don't have to have your project management certification to walk in the door because you are qualified for those positions. So, look into and really dig into what translates to other industries. Also, I think a lot of people are thinking about what they can do right now for money and how they can monetize their side gigs. And don't be afraid to jump into something right now if your family is in need of money. I have so many friends and colleagues in the events industry that are delivering for Instacart, that have taken up Uber Eats jobs or driving for Uber during this time. You do whatever you do to support your dreams and your family. Make sure you build that foundation, and then, work on monetizing everything else. So also, a big piece of this is taking care of yourself. So, make time for you. I know I've thrown a lot at you about, what to do and how to get involved and how to research and jump into action. But at the end of the day, you fundamentally have to take care of your temple, of you, so that you're the best you for everyone else and your passions and possibly a new career if you're looking in that direction. And I always say 100%, you will miss out on opportunities that you don't try for. And guess what? You might want to get comfortable with failing, and you might want to lean into failing because it may happen for you right now. And I think that's okay. And I think we don't do a great job of discussing what it's like to fail. Have I had jobs? And have I been an entrepreneur and developed things that have failed? 100% absolutely. But I've had the guts and passion to get out there and do it. And I've learned so many lessons. And for me, it's basically my built-in MBA. I have learned so many business lessons over the past 15 years, from starting and failing and asking and failing and getting no and getting turned down. But I've been brave enough to do it. And I hope that this inspires you to be brave enough to do this too. So during the pivot, I think I worked hard to find my passion, and I'm here to help you monetize it if need be, because I launched during this whole crazy time AWomanWithDrive.com, which is a leadership and lifestyle, travel, and golf blog, kind of tying together all of the things that I love in life. Something that I've been wanting to do forever, but didn't have the time to do, didn't have the time to think through, didn't have the time to develop a business plan. And you know what? After we sunsetted the Association for Women in Events, I bought the URL, I bought the website, and I just did it. I just went for it. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's led me down this new path of, now I'm speaking and I'm coaching. I was mentoring before, and I've turned it into a bit of a coaching business. And I was speaking lightly before. I didn't have a lot of time, but now I'm speaking a lot more for different organizations on things like happiness, ties back to that Yale course that I took through Coursera. People are loving the fact that I'm talking about happiness and how to tie it into your life and how to tie it into your virtual events. So I made the pivot there. And if for some reason live events don't come back, then maybe I have a fallback on a speaking and coaching and leadership consulting career. So that was exciting for me. That was my passion. I'm here to help you find yours and hopefully monetize yours if need be, if it's something you want to do as a side gig or if it's something that you need to do more full time. I hope that you'll reach out to me. I always like to end on this since I do talk about happiness a lot. Happiness is not just a place, but also a process. Happiness is an ongoing process of fresh challenges and attitudes and activities to continue to be happy. So we are absolutely in that challenging moment right now with COVID and with everything that's happening in the events industry. But I hope you give yourself a little bit of grace and kind of dig into really finding what your passion is and give yourself some time to really dig into what you love and who you are outside of the events industry. And that being said, just thank you so much for spending your time with me here. I really hope you feel free to reach out. I've dropped my email here. You can reach me on Instagram or through Twitter or LinkedIn or anything else. But I'm here to guide you and talk it through and hopefully help out and just appreciate the time. So thank you so much.